The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Today on Aging Horizons, we're going to be speaking with two MLSA staff attorneys who are going to be telling us all about the amazing work they're doing in foreclosure prevention. They're going to tell us about how you can apply, some of the steps to avoid foreclosure, and when you really need to start taking action. So you're not going to want to miss this important information today on Aging Horizons, so make sure you stay tuned with us.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
Medicare loses $60 million in Montana each year,
$60 billion nationally.
Medicare processes 4.5 million claims a day. They don't know who your doctor is, but you do. Mistakes can happen.
Read your Medicare statements and call Montana Senior Medicare Patrol if you see anything unexpected.
1-800-551-3191. This project is supported by a grant by the Administration for Community Living.
"45 years, 2 packs a day. It's like $80,000. I thought I was just hurting myself until I fell asleep in a chair with a cigarette. The whole house went up. I lost it all. I knew smoking was expensive, but I never thought it would cost me everything."
Welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Katie Lovell, and today we're speaking with two MLSA staff attorneys, Henry O'Brien and Daniel Webster, who are going to tell us all about the important work they're doing on foreclosure prevention. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, Daniel, tell me a little bit about what your project is doing and a little bit about MLSA generally.
Yeah, so Montana Legal Services Association, also known as MLSA, is a nonprofit law firm that assists low to moderate income Montanans with civil legal issues. And specifically, what Henry and I do is we assist homeowners at risk of foreclosure and other foreclosure-related problems that may affect a person's ownership interest in the home.
So is MLSA based just in Helena, or is it a statewide organization?
So it's a statewide organization with offices in Helena, Missoula, Billings, but we assist homeowners all over the state.
Wonderful. And how long has this project been going for?
So the foreclosure project specifically has been going since about March, is when I started as an attorney, and we're now kind of really ramping it up and looking to help as many people as we can.
Wonderful. So tell me a little bit about what foreclosure means.
So foreclosure is the legal process by which a mortgage lender can force the sale of some person's home in order to recoup the value of the loan that's remaining if you don't pay the loan or if you otherwise violate the loan contract.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how does someone find themselves in foreclosure?
Well, the most common way is, not making the payments on the loan. Sure. As I said, you can also end up in foreclosure if, for example, you were to sell the loan or sell the home without the lender's permission or without, then paying off the loan. Then the lender would come and, try to force a foreclosure sale to get their money back.
So tell me a little bit about some of the things that you all are doing on a daily basis.
Well, MLSA, I should say, first of all, MLSA helps people with a wide array
Sure.
of things. Dan and I are focusing on foreclosure. But I think one of the things we wanted to highlight today is that we're able to help folks with legal problems relating to their mortgage, relating to home ownership that exist well before the official foreclosure process
Sure.
happens, because there are a lot of things that can impact your home ownership or your ability to pay that can then lead to foreclosure down the line. So we're helping people with those sorts of issues, like maybe somebody's living in a home and they think that they own it, but their name isn't actually on the deed for whatever reason, and we can help folks with that. we can help folks who are struggling to make their payments work with their lender in order to adjust their payments and make it easier to stay in the home and avoid a formal foreclosure process.
Sure.
And then, of course, we're helping a lot of people who are actually in foreclosure, assert their rights and come out of it the best that they can.
And I assume a lot of people just really have questions about the process generally. What does this mean? I got this letter. What does this even look like? And then I'm sure there's a lot of anxiety around dealing with those issues.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of anxiety, and it can be scary, but there are things that we can assist with. And it's important, as soon as you think you're facing foreclosure or think something might be happening that could lead to foreclosure, it's best to contact us as soon as possible, and we'll see what we can do for you. And then other things, typically when people think of foreclosure, the most common is obviously fall behind on a mortgage to own, a home and land, and the bank will foreclose. But we also assist with like contract for deeds, where you make payments directly to the seller, and that's usually in mobile home situations where you're buying the mobile home directly from the seller and you make payments over time while you live there.
Sure.
Rent to own, often usually in mobile home, where again you're renting it with the option to purchase, and then other things that can affect your property interests, like unpaid taxes that can lead to tax liens, then a tax deed auction, other potential like easement issues, and things like that.
What is the first sign that someone might receive that they're in trouble? Obviously, they might know if they're not making their payments, but what's the first signal that someone should really start to pay attention to?
Honestly, just go with your gut. As soon as you think your home ownership might be at issue, or if you're going to miss a payment, or if you've just missed one payment, contact us and we can kind of talk through your options. And sometimes that's working on a payment plan, or forbearance is sometimes an option depending on the type of loan. And a lot of it depends on the contract language and what type of loan. There's some VA insured, Veterans Administration insured, FHA, Federal Housing Administration insured. And there's different rights and requirements that the lender and servicer have to follow through in order to foreclose. And then things like, potentially options of selling the property if you don't think you can make mortgage payments, or if that's an option. And so it's important people to think about kind of their goals.
Sure.
If they think they're facing foreclosure, if they really want to keep the home, or if they're open to selling it and recouping some of the equity.
And we'd also encourage folks, it sounds simple, but make sure that you're opening your mail, from your lender, because you should be getting notices from your lender if you're falling behind well in advance of a formal foreclosure proceeding. And so just keeping up with the mail and not ignoring letters from your lender or from the IRS or Department of Revenue, things like that. Yeah.
Do people have to know, what type of loan they have, what type of property they have before they call you, or is that something that you guys can assist with them, helping to figure that out?
That's definitely something we can assist with. A lot of people, especially if they have VA loans, they're going to know that they have VA loans, and it's helpful for us if we know that up front. But yeah, one of the things we can help people with is looking at their loan documents and then helping them go from there to see what their options might be. Because like Dan said, what your options are going to be between you and your lender really depends on your circumstances, your particular income and assets, where your home is, and then, like Dan said, what type of loan you have.
Wonderful. All right, when we get back, I want to talk a little bit about what foreclosure means and what that sort of process looks like. So make sure you stay tuned, because we've got more information for you.
Can you say ombudsman?
Ombudsman. Benson?
Uma Doodlesman? Fortunately, you don't have to say it right to get the help of a long-term care ombudsman. If you or a loved one reside in assisted living or long-term care, an ombudsman can help resolve any issue. And these services are completely free and confidential. Now, why don't you try that again?
Ombudsman.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Elder abuse is a growing problem, and it's happening right here in our Montana communities. At least 1 in 10 older adults are victims of physical or emotional abuse, financial exploitation, or neglect. To get help or report elder abuse, call your local area agency on aging or Adult Protective Services at 1-844-277-9300.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. Today we're speaking with 2 attorneys from Montana Legal Services, and they're talking to us all about the foreclosure project that they're working on. Henry and Daniel, thank you again so much for joining us. Daniel, can we talk a little bit about what the timeline for foreclosure looks like? Well, how long is that process generally?
Yeah, so the timeline, and this is typically you miss a payment, and that's kind of triggers the timeline for this foreclosure process. So you miss a monthly payment, and then generally within 30 days you should receive calls from the servicer of your loan and written notices giving you that might go through options, and Henry can talk a little more about that. And then once you're 90 days past due, you should be getting a 30-day notice demanding payment, because when you're 120 days past due, that's when the servicer can schedule a trustee sale.
Wow.
And then, so it's important to check your mail, kind of know where you are at the process.
Sure.
And then they have to give you at least 120 days notice of the trustee sale before that. So generally, and then 120 days after that, the trustee sale can happen.
Okay.
So generally, from the time you miss the first payment to the trustee sale is about 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, you know, that timeline can change. Like if you make a payment, a full payment for the first month you're behind in the second month, but you still don't make that second month payment, the timeline will start from the beginning of that second month. So it'll shift it backwards. And then, so let's say you get to a trustee sale, you're not able to work out an option to avoid foreclosure or sell the home. Trustee sale, it's sold to the highest bidder, and then once it's sold, the homeowner will have 10 days to move out.
Wow.
And then if they don't move out within that 10 days, they're considered what's called a tenant at will, and generally the new owner can give a 30-day notice to move out, and usually will have to, after that 30 days, if the homeowner's still not there, or still there, they would have to file kind of an unlawful detainer action in court to remove them.
Sure.
And then additionally, once the home is sold, so if the value remaining on the home, for example, is 100, or the mortgage obligation is $100,000 and it's sold for $200,000, there'll be a surplus fund available after the lender gets their mortgage paid off, and then costs of the trustee's sale and attorney fees are paid out. That'll be deposited with the county treasurer, and then the homeowner can file for a petition for the surplus funds. Okay. So you will have an opportunity to potentially get some of your money back, even if you're forced out of the home.
Sure. If it sells for, let's say you owe $200,000 and it only sells for $100,000, do you still retain that $100,000 in debt?
No.
Okay.
So they can't go out after you for what's called a deficiency judgment normally. That just satisfies the new bidder gets the loan, the lender gets whatever it was sold for, and the homeowner, doesn't get any money at that point.
Okay. Henry, are there stops along the way where folks have options on what to do after they've missed a payment?
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said, the earlier that you can call us or reach out to an attorney or other resources, the better, because the earlier we can get going on this, the more options that you might have.
Sure.
And I always try to set expectations with clients when we're working with them, and that kind of starts with the fact that in most cases, unless a foreclosure is happening because of some error or improper thing that the bank has done, which, of course happens in some cases. But absent that, a foreclosure is not going to be permanently avoided unless the bank is getting paid in some way.
Sure.
Right. And so, the simplest way to avoid a foreclosure, even if one started, is to pay back the money, the past due mortgage payments.
Sure.
And so even if, as Dan said, even if a trustee sale has been scheduled, up until even the morning of that sale, a homeowner in Montana typically has the right to pay back only the amount that they're past due. You don't have to pay off the entire balance of the loan, but just pay off the past due amount even up until that morning, and that'll reinstate the loan and put you back where you were before, where you just have your monthly payment due every month. And so that's the simplest way, but of course folks are often in that situation because they weren't able to make those payments.
Sure.
And so like we said, another way that folks can avoid foreclosure even after that process has started is to work with the lender to modify the loan or to get some other kind of what we call loss mitigation, which is sort of the catch-all term for the various adjustments that your lender can make to your loan in order to adjust your payments either temporarily or permanently and make it more affordable. And so one option might be a forbearance. Sometimes lenders are able to offer that, and that's a temporary pause in your payments. So let's say you lost your job, you fell behind, but now you have a new job, and so you're going to be able to make your payments going forward, but you just need a little time to catch up. A forbearance might be an option there. For other people where there's been a more permanent change, you might need to get a full loan modification, which is a change to the actual terms of the loan, and that looks like a refinance. And that can be difficult for a lot of people right now, especially because if you got your loan 5, 10, 15 years ago, the interest rate that you're on right now is a lot lower than what you would be offered today. And so we help people who are looking at those options kind of understand what that new contract looks like and what their new payments are going to look like. We also will sometimes evaluate people for bankruptcy because in some instances, certain types of bankruptcy can keep people in the home. And then we help people who, in some instances, it's not possible to keep the homeowner in the home if they really can't catch up. And so then we'll advise people on ways that they can get as much of their equity out of the home as possible, right? And so the equity is the amount of the value of the home that you own as opposed to the amount that the bank still owns, right? And so for a lot of people in Montana right now with, the way property values have been going up and up, you might have a lot of equity even if you haven't been making your payments for a while.
Sure.
And unfortunately at a foreclosure sale, the trustee sale, your home is likely to sell for less than the value that you could get selling it on the private market just because of the nature of a foreclosure sale. Sure. And so we will sometimes advise people if you're not going to be able to work out something with your lender, if you're not going to be able to make up the payment, to consider selling the home privately before the foreclosure sale and then walking away with more surplus than you might get from the foreclosure.
All right, when we get back, I want to talk about how to apply to your wonderful program. So make sure you stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss that information.
You've probably seen some big-name celebrities on your TV lately talking about all the Medicare benefits you're missing out on. But the insurance companies who are paying for these ads may be pushing benefits not available in Montana. Fortunately, help is available from a friendly state health insurance assistance program counselor who can help you sort it all out. It's free, and we screen everyone for eligibility regardless of your zip code. It's Montanans helping Montanans. Call today.
Did you just text me?
I didn't want to disturb you if you were sleeping.
Sleeping? I'm sitting right next to you, silly.
There you are. Hey, I found a couple of Medicare helping programs online that I think we ought to look into.
It says if we qualify, we can get help paying for our prescription drugs. Oh, and there's a program that can help pay our Part B premium.
To learn more about extra help and Medicare savings programs, call your local SHIP counselor today.
Maybe I better text him.
Hey, caregivers, did you know that respite time is your time? How will you spend it?
We love to get outdoors, so if we have any free time, that's pretty much where you can find us.
Bailey Tolson, East Helena.
We love to hike. Any chance we get, we're out there. And of course, there's always date night.
Montana Lifespan Respite. Respite for caregivers. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. It's okay to get it. To learn if you're eligible, call 1-800-224-6034.
We love date night.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. Today we're going through some really important information about foreclosure prevention with two MLSA staff attorneys, Daniel Webster and Henry O'Brien. Henry, thank you so much for that really important information about all of your options that you have. What are some of the rights that homeowners have in Montana?
Well, like I said, you have the right to redeem your not to redeem your mortgage, but to pay off just the past due amount, even if your loan has been accelerated, which means that if you're in foreclosure, you might get a bill from the lender that says the entire amount of your loan has been due. But you're able to avoid that and de-accelerate your loan just by paying off the past due amount. And this isn't really a right, but we also like to refer people to different resources other than MLSA because we're attorneys and we can help people with legal advice, but there are also housing counselors out there who are able to help people evaluate different loan options, explain the terms of your loan to you, and we think that's a really valuable resource also because we're not financial advisors, and so it's great for people to get that other sort of help. You also have the right oftentimes, or in most mortgages, to ask your servicer for information about your loan and also to tell them if you think they've made an error. And so if you think that a mistake has been made with, you've made a payment and the servicer says that they didn't receive that payment, or you think the amount you're being charged every month is incorrect, you can call them. But we often advise that people talk to their servicer in writing so that they maintain that record. And if you talk to your servicer on the phone, maybe take a few notes and just on this day we talked about this. But there's going to be a mailing address on your monthly statement. That'll be the mailing address you should use anytime you want to alert them of an error because if you use that address and you do that formal process, then the mortgage servicer has an obligation, in most cases under the law, to investigate the error that you've claimed and respond to it.
Wow, that's really good information. When we are looking at maybe facing a foreclosure issue, maybe we've already missed a payment, maybe we know that we're going to miss a payment, how do folks apply to your program?
Oh, so they can apply. The best way is to apply online at montanalawhelp.org. You can also call our helpline at 1-800-666-6899. And you can also go into, we have 3 offices, Billings, Missoula, Helena. You can go in, complete a paper application, or get a paper application and mail it in. And generally, if you call the helpline, sometimes you might have to leave a voicemail and someone will get back to you pretty soon to set something up.
Are there eligibility criteria about age or where you live in Montana or your income, anything like that?
So generally the eligibility is you live in Montana, you're living in your principal residence, that's the home facing foreclosure, and you're at 100% area media income for the county you live in or lower. But again, if you're not sure, it's best just to apply and we can figure that out once you apply if you're eligible or not.
Absolutely. When folks are looking at maybe thinking about applying to the program, is there any sort of documentation or anything that they should start to collect in preparation for a conversation with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we're able to help people. We can always give people general advice, even if we don't have any of your documents. We can speak generally, but the more documents we can get from you concerning your loan and any communications you've had with the lender or the bank or anything, the better. And that's going to allow us to give the most particularized advice. And like I said, you can call your lender, and if you don't have documents, you might have gotten your mortgage 20, 30 years ago and you might not have anything, and that's fine. And if you're not able to get it, we can help you communicate with your lender to get those documents.
Wonderful. So just really anything that pertains to the situation that you might have on hand.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Yeah. Are there programs that can assist folks with foreclosure outside of what you guys are doing that you guys work with?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mentioned the housing counselors before, and I'll plug them again because I think it's a really great network we have statewide in Montana. There's also a program that's ending pretty soon, run through the Department of Commerce here in Montana, that is able to help certain folks catch up on past due mortgage payments. They have some money left over from some of the COVID era stimulus money that came from Commerce, and so certain folks that might be eligible might be able to get a grant from the state to pay some past due amount of property taxes and mortgage payments. And that program, I believe, is ending at the end of September. So if you're out there and think you might be eligible and need some help catching up, you should reach out to a housing counselor because they can help you complete the application for that with Department of Commerce.
Wonderful. Just as a overview of everything that we've talked about today, there are symptoms or signs that someone may be in trouble, and that's going to be information from their lender, maybe from their bank about past due payments. And they really need to know a little bit about the types of loan that they might have had. And Daniel, can you just remind us what some of those types of loans that someone may have entered into when buying a home, or legal situations they may have entered?
So yeah, so there's generally, you'll sign probably a trust indenture, and then the promissory note is, or known as the mortgage loan agreement.
Sure.
And so that's where a lot of the information on your rights and obligations and what the servicer and lender can or can't do. And sometimes that's just private loans. A lot of these loans are federally backed. People may have heard of Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac backed loans, and when those loans are in play, when there's federally backed loans, there's other requirements. Servicer often has to follow Real Estate Settlement Protection Act, RESPA, and there's certain requirements where they have to offer certain loss mitigation. Now, unfortunately, there's not really any requirement that they, a servicer, accept a loan modification or forbearance or anything like that. But then there's also VA insured loans, FHA insured loans, U.S. Department of Agriculture insured loans through the Rural Housing Program. And then another thing I just wanted to mention is that in addition to these usual foreclosures after defaulting on the loan, there's also unpaid property taxes I mentioned previously as an option, and with the rise in values and the rise in property taxes. Now typically in a mortgage situation, the lender pays that from your monthly payment, where you pay part of your monthly payment goes to escrow to pay insurance and taxes, but sometimes the homeowner's paying that directly or after they own it free and clear of the mortgage. And then with that process, if you're delinquent a year in taxes, then a tax lien can attach by the county, and a private individual can get that assigned by paying off your delinquent taxes, and the homeowner has 3 years to redeem, pay off the defaulted amount. And if they don't in that 3 years, an individual who's been paying that can apply for a tax deed, and then that home will get sold at auction.
Wow. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. Such important information and such really important work that you're doing for Montana. And so thank you on behalf of all of us for the amazing work that you're doing. And thank you for watching today's Aging Horizons.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.